Oops. How do I...
Laggy? 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 Is that you? I'm Abby. Maddie! It's the baby! How's baby? Yippee! Hi, Fookie! Hi, Wizard Fly!
Oh my god, Wizard Fly, were you always on... You were. Oh, it was Bug Stick Guy. I'm getting a lot of bug guys.
Spoiled? Good.
It's what baby Noelle deserves.
Hi, Van!
If I'm here and you're there and you're here and I'm there, who's watching Burrowing Heaven? Nobody, because I don't know what that is. Bzz, 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 bzz. My PC nearly died, but I got first. How did your PC almost die? What happened? Why does Pride have... Pride in my chat has the blue pop cup, but Silver has the pink pop cup. But they're both VIPs, right? Or is... no. Oh, maybe... Laggy, are you... You're a VIP, you are. What the heck? He gets the title all-time leader, though. No one's watching, it means John is dead and it's probably escaped by now. You don't have VIP? Whoa. You have a star next to your name, though. But you do have all-time leader. That's like a whole other kind of thing. No. All my posts went to the pond. Classic. Classic pond. You're still the #1 pond guy, I think. Ash is probably close to you, but... I never reset it. It's still there. I have a sneeze in my nose. A sneeze. You don't have VIP. You must have a lot of points saved up now, though. Because you haven't... There's no pond for you to spend your points on. Oh, you're getting there. You'll get there by the end of the year. Then you got bright heart. Mini mystery plush. We don't sell them in Canada yet. I want them so bad. Wait, what are all the ones to collect? No! That's me. By the end of the year. Which are... There has to be Firestar, right? Firestar, Brightheart... Who else? Who else is available? Firestar, Brightheart, Scrooge, Brambleclaw, Tall Star, and Yellowfang. Tall Star? Hawkfrost. Why is Tall Star part of this? What? Wouldn't it be like Gray Stripe? Blue Star? What is this? Black Star if they really wanted to have another like evil leader. Tiger Star? They're included in the minifigures. Suspicious. This was for the plushies. Still, they should have them all for the plushies. I want Jay Feather. I want my boy. My boy. My boy.
Oh, thank you for the sub, Moon. I mean, Ben. Moon, Ben. Ben, Moon. The resub. The repop, pop, pop.
They are coming out with series 2 in the fall. I'm excited for the rest of the graphic novels as well. Maybe the star means you're subbed. That must be it. Alright guys, this is going to be the last Warrior Cat Wednesday for 2 weeks. Or 1 week? Yeah, 1 week actually. I'll be back on the... right there. 17th. I'll be back on the 17th. I'll be sipping pina coladas.
Vacation, no?
Vacation, no. Yes, thank you for the croissant.
Ow. Look, it's right.
I'm going on vacation for a week in Mexico.
And I'm not gonna get terribly, awfully sick this time.
Oh my gosh, look at your kitty cat. So cute.
I don't know why he's pushed up so high, but oh well. I like that cat. Did you buy like a croissant? Was that a croissant?
Croissant.
I was gonna get one of those like vacation shot things, you know, where they like prevent you from getting the runs while you're abroad. But it's so expensive. It's like $200 for this shot, and you need to like go through like 5 bazillion loops to get it. You need to like go to the doctor, and then the doctor has to like give you the okay, and like if he thinks that it's viable and good, and then you have to go like fill out some form, and then you have to send it to the pharmacist, and then the pharmacist charges you $200. Fraud. I'm a nice girl. Thanks. Thanks.
Big cup noodle.
Oh man, wait, I want a cup noodle. Oh man, I want a cup noodle. We have one left. No, I have to read. And it's spicy, so it would hurt my voice. Okay, that's my goal. My end goal for today is to read and then eat a cup noodle. What flavor is your cup noodle? And brand? So I can maybe quietly judge you. Or not judge you. Or praise you? Give my opinion. The cup noodle that I want isn't actually in a cup. It's in a bag. It's a mama one. It's called Mama. Although I only like their like spicy ones. Their normal mamas are kind of gross.
Nissan! I love Nissan.
Nissin Classic. Nissin has good noodles. I like their noodles a lot. Yummy, yummy in my tummy. Okay. My favorite ramen shop opened a new location down the road. Yeah? I can't eat ramen. Like actual ramen, I don't like the egg noodles. I think they're gross. I need to have the whatever wheat noodles are from, you know, like cup noodle ramen. I can eat that kind of noodles, but egg noodles, it's just yuck. Yuck. So I haven't been able to like really appreciate a good ramen, which is really sad. Once I had a ramen and then I got an allergic reaction after it, so it was sad. Since I was a good egg this week, I haven't finished leftovers. I'll grab a Vietnamese dish tomorrow. Mmm, yummy. Pho? Guys, is it just me? No, I said this like a couple weeks ago too. Dr. Pepper like doesn't have any bubbles in it anymore. Like, why is it not fizzy? I want a really fizzy drink that like pokes my nose when I drink it. You know what I mean? Like when you get a sparkling drink, I want to take a sip and have it sparkle and pop and get little pop droplets on my nose. Savory crispy pancakes. Mmm. Undo Baja Blast orange flavored. There's a orange flavored Baja Blast? I thought Baja Blast itself was a flavor. It's new! Do they sell it at Taco Bell? Mmm! I like punch. If a drink is called a punch, I like it. Tropical punch, citrus punch, blueberry punch. I'm a punch fiend. You know, found it at the gas station recently. Did you taste it? Is it good? I'll give you a punch. Thanks. A drink, right? No! It's a solid 7 out of 10. Oh, that's good. 7 out of 10 is pretty... I feel like a 7 out of 10 is a good average of a soda pop. I'm very sad to say Dr. Pepper is lowering on my soda pop good list. Solely based off of the lack of pop in my soda. I think at some point it feels depressed to go on Twitch isn't the same anymore. What was it before? What was Twitch before? Zorro. Morocco! Nice. I've only been to Canada once on that tracker. Alive? What does that mean? Does that mean... I'm not sure how to interpret that. Like not many people are streaming, but there's like more than ever people streaming, so that can't be it. Alive as in maybe not as full of energy, but I know a lot of big real life, you know, like people are kind of cuckoo crazy. It's a little concerning. Some people are it's a little worrisome. You ever get that when you watch like a really really energetic, outgoing streamer and they're like screaming and yelling all the time at everybody and everything. And it's like, I'm a little worried about you. I'm a little concerned about your well-being and mental health. I hope that you're okay. All right. my not poppy soda pop has been sufficiently drinked for now. Let's give it a good old try to see how far we can read in the book today. So, previously on Warrior Cat Wednesday, we had Thunder. What do we have? Oh yes, so there's currently the evil rogue group, the City Cats, and their leader is like jumping, hunting patrols and stealing everybody's food. And the way that they do it is they outnumber the patrols. So it's like if there's 3 cats on a patrol, they come with 5 cats and they're like, give me your food. And then they're like, well, we don't want to die. So we'll give you food, I guess. But then because of that, they get like really, really hungry.
Thank you for visiting, Chrome.
Please enjoy your, I think that was jam or something. Some sort of jar substance. Pickles? And so they're kind of like upset about that for a good reason. It's winter. They're not getting any food. They're not getting enough food. They're not getting very much food in general. And then the food that they do get, they have to give away to these evil rogue guys. So they are just, they made like I think they went to have a meeting or something, and they're like, guys, we gotta figure this out. I don't know what they ended up figuring out. I can't remember what their plan is. Oh wait, their plan is to get stronger. Their plan is to do some training. There was a training montage. Each different clan like introduced a new cool move that they can utilize against the rogues. So that's what they're planning on doing, to get stronger so they can beat them up and defend themselves better. And then at the very end of the chapter, Thunder and Lightning Tail were like, okay, let's go to the rogue place and see how many cats there are. Because if there's enough cats, then, or if there's not enough, or if we have more cats in total, all of our cats together, we might be able to just outrun them all and then chase them out of the area. So Thunder goes to go snoop, and he watches how, what's his face? I don't even know his name. The evil guy, Slash? How Slash, the leader is Slash, how Slash treats his rogues, which is like, he only gives the good prey to, his buddies, and then he like gives everybody else under his command like scrawny little things, and he like publicly humiliates them while he does it. He's like, do you think you deserve this? And they're like, yeah. He's like, well, I don't think so. You get this instead. And gives them like a shriveled up little mole. I don't know. So a lot of the cats don't really want to be there anymore, but they're scared. They have family there or lovers or whatever, and it's too hard to get out. The risk is too high. But there seems to be a small group of cats that were gathered together, and Thunder, Mr. Hero Complex boy here, sees this one cat, Violet, who has bravely stood up to the leader, has said no to his advances romantically. And he looks at her and he's like, I'm gonna get her out of there. I'm gonna save her. Despite the fact that she's actively making like a coup herself. she's gonna be fine without your help, Thunder, but you can try and save her, I guess. Maybe, I don't know.
So that's where we are.
All right. Chapter 11. As usual, I'll probably be kind of rusty. And I might not reply immediately.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there nature music playing? You can hear that, right? Okay, good.
Chapter 11.
Greywing narrowed his eyes against the fine rain as he scanned the moor top. Slate pressed closer to his flank. Are you sure you should be out in this weather? Yes. 3 days in his nest, struggling to breathe, had been enough for Greywing. When he'd woken this morning and found that the tightness in his chest had eased at last, he scrambled from his den and begged Windrunner to let him join the hunting patrol. She'd agreed, but not until Gorsefer had shown him the battle moves they'd learned at the Four Trees Hollow. The whole group had been practicing harder after Thunder had visited to warn them that the rogues were planning to attack. The day before, Reed and Minnow had spent all their afternoon drilling Mothflight and Dust Muzzle on the new fighting techniques, and the kids had taken to training so eagerly that they were still practicing long after the sun had dipped below the horizon. It had warmed Greywing's heart to see the young cats working so hard. Matching the cats with assigned trainers had brought the best out of all of them. Oh yeah, they also realized that they can do like apprentice mentorship. The clan structure is starting to grow. I knew they'd underestimated you, Mothflight. Now he stood on the moor top and watched the rest of the patrol, Windrunner, Gorsefer, and Dust Muzzle, sniffing at the burrows that dotted the grass. Lifting his head, he relished the freshness of the wind and the rain whipping his whiskers. The chill that had gripped the moor had eased with the coming of cloud. He hoped the rough weather would keep the rogues in their camp. He glanced down at the slope, alert for unfamiliar pelts moving against the grass. Slate was scanning the slope, too. I wish they'd just attack, she growled. Waiting is making me anxious. Greywing flicked his tail. I'm just glad they haven't stolen prey for a while. Every rabbit, mouse, and bird his campmates had caught in the past few days had been brought back to camp. Prey was still scarce, but at least they didn't have to share it with a bunch of mangy rogues. Greywing glanced down the slope, his pelt prickling uneasily. Were the rogues watching them now? He tried to ignore the queasy fear in his belly. Slate was right. Waiting for the attack was worse than fighting. Movement caught his eye. He turned his gaze towards the moor-top warren just as Dust Muzzle disappeared into a burrow. A few moments later, a rabbit burst from a hole further along the slope. Windrunner started forward, her gaze flashing with excitement, but Gorsefer blocked her way. The Grey Tom's eyes were fixed on the hole the rabbit had shot from. He lifted his tail as Dust Muzzle darted out. The young Tom skimmed the grass as fast as the wind, closing the gap on his quarry. With a leap, he soared and landed squarely on its back. Rolling over, he grasped it in his paws and bit down on its neck. Greywing purred. Dust Muzzle is a great hunter. Slate swished her tail. It's hard to believe he's only 6 moons old. He hunts as well as any of his campmates. Windrunner and Gorsefer bounded towards them, Dust Muzzle running ahead. As they neared, Greywing heard the calls of a goose, from beyond a swath of heather further down slope. Gorsefer must have heard it too. He snapped his gaze towards the sound, his ears prickling. Dust Muzzle slithered to a halt in front of Greywing. Pride glowed in his gaze as the rabbit swung from his jaws. Its warm scent bathed Greywing's nose. Well done, he purred. As Windrunner caught up, she nodded to Dust Muzzle. Go and tuck it into the grass over there. She pointed to a tangled clump a few tail lengths away. We can pick it up on the way back to camp. Gorsefer was still staring down slope. They hear the grouse? Of course. Windrunner headed towards the heather as Dustmuzzle slid the rabbit beneath the straggly grass. Straggly grass? As she reached it, she lifted her forepaws off the ground and peered over the frost-brown bushes. She turned and, with a flick of her tail, beckoned the others to join her. Greywing hurried eagerly towards her. Mothflight, Minnow, Reed, and Spotted Fur would be pleased when they returned to camp with 2 fat pieces of prey. "It's on the grass beyond this path to heather," Windrunner whispered. She nodded to Greywing. "I want you to sneak around it. Drive it towards the heather. The rest of us will be waiting in the bushes. Once you've chased it towards us, we can make the kill." Greywing's pelt prickled irritably. Didn't she trust him to make the kill? She spoke again, as though reading his thoughts. "We can't risk losing it," she told him. "Someone has to make sure it flies towards the heather." "But why me?" Greywing wanted to argue, but he knew the answer she had to give, no matter how reluctantly. "'Cause you're not fit enough to hunt." Even the short run down slope had left him breathless. How could he catch prey? He grunted and headed around the heather patch, tracing a wide circle as he reached the grass beyond. The grouse was pecking at the ground a few tail lengths from the heather. Greywing dropped low and slowed his pace as he crept behind it. It lifted its head warily. Greywing froze. His heart quickened. Then the grouse began to peck at the ground once more. Moving even more cautiously, he scanned the heather. Windrunner and the others must be in place by now. Fixing his gaze on the grouse, he crept towards it. He picked up speed. His paws hardly made a sound on the rain-soaked grass. The grouse kept pecking, oblivious to his approach. Perhaps he could make the kill by himself after all. One leap and he'd be on it. He could pin it to the ground and kill it with a single bite. "Now!" He leaped, pelt bristling with excitement. Yowls exploded behind him. Startled, he landed clumsily. Angry screeches split the air around him. The grouse fluttered upward, shedding feathers as it fled. Greywing turned. 8 rogues were streaming towards him, ranged across the hillside, teeth bared. Wind flattened their ears and their fur, blowing back their whiskers and stealing their scent so that he recognized none of them. Shock flared beneath his pelt. "Windrunner!" Bushes rustled, paw steps thrummed around him as, stiff with shock, Greywing watched the rogues pelt closer. Windrunner, Gorsefur, and Slate exploded from the heather. Greywing reared as an orange she-cat flew at him. Her weight hit him hard and sent him stumbling backwards. As he thumped onto his back, he felt a paw press his throat. "I can't breathe!" He met the rogue's vicious stare as she pressed harder. Fighting panic, Greywing curled his hind legs in and tucked them beneath her belly. He felt his head throbbing as she choked him. Gurgling, he shoved her hard with his back paws. The orange tabby gripped with her claws. Pain spiked through his pelt as she flung her away. He felt his fur rip and saw clumps of it snagged in her claws as she flipped midair and landed nimbly on the grass. Greywing jumped up, fear turning to energy as the rogue she-cat raced towards him again. She lunged at him. Greywing saw her gaze flick to his shoulder. Starflower's move flashed in his mind, the one Gorsefur had showed him earlier. "She's gonna try and lame me." Quickly, he slammed his forepaw on top of her shoulder before she could lift hers. Surprise flashed in her amber gaze. Her paws buckled beneath her, and she tumbled to the ground. Around him, shrieks and yowls filled the air. Slate reared as an orange tom and a tortoiseshell she-cat swiped blows at her head. Dustmuzzle wrestled on the grass with a black tom. Windrunner was backing slowly away from 3 toms. One of them was Slash. The rogue's eyes glinted with triumph as his campmates fanned out and began to circle her, cutting off her escape. "If we kill her," he snarled, "the others will give up." Eyes wild with panic, Windrunner jerked one way, then the other, spitting as she lashed out with her forepaws. "Go for her throat, Splinter." Slash nodded to a black and white tom. Greywing raced to help, but as he neared, Gorsefur streaked in front of him. His gaze was fixed on a gap between the toms. He raced through it, shoving Splinter aside. Greywing saw Gorsefur catch Windrunner's eyes. She blinked back at him, as though words had silently passed between them, then ducked away from Slash and raked her claws along Splinter's flank. Streaking away, she glanced over her shoulder. Splinter hissed at her and gave chase. Gorsifer tore after him, and Greywing stared in surprise as the two more cats hared across the moorside, the rogue between them. Who's chasing and who's being chased? He looked back towards Slash. The rogue was staring after Gorsifer, confusion darkening his gaze for a moment. Then he turned and narrowed his eyes. Signaling to his companion with a nod, he lunged towards Slate. Greywing watched in horror as 4 rogues piled on top of her, hissing and spitting. Paws whirled, tails lashed. From beneath the frenzied mass of squirming bodies, he heard Slate's terrified yowl. What the heck? This is vicious.
Hi, Dominic.
He plunged into the fight, claws stretched. Pushing his way to the middle, he flipped over and began hitting out with every paw. He felt a soft body beneath him and smelled fear scent. Slate! He fought harder, wincing as claws hooked into his pelt and scratched his cheek. Screwing up his eyes, he lashed out, desperate with fear. He felt Slate wriggle from underneath him. Suddenly, she was on her paws, pressing against his flank as faces snarled around them. Tail to tail! Slate hissed. Greywing seemed to read her thoughts. As he reared, she reared, and he pressed his spine against hers. Back to back, they battered their attackers with a flurry of paws. Rain lashing in his face, Greywing flung one hefty blow after another, bracing himself against Slate as she braced against him. Gradually, the blur of claws and faces grew clearer. Slash swung a paw at him, then turned to a black and brown Tom. "Go for the legs, Beetle," he hissed. Greywing moved just in time as the rogue dived at his hind leg. Balancing on a single paw, he kicked out, slashing his hind claws against the rogue's cheek. The Tom ducked away, yelping with pain, and reared, fury in his eyes. Greywing felt his breath tighten. No! Panic gripped him. Not now! He had to keep fighting. Slate was fending off the 2 other rogues behind him. A black Tom was on top of Dustmuzzle, who shrieked with pain as the orange she-cat jerked his hind leg between her jaws. He's using all the right moves, but he's too young to fight off 2 grown cats. Horror hollowed Greywing's belly. He wheezed, fighting for air. Windrunner! Hope sparked in Slate's mew. The camp leader burst from the heather, Gorsifer at her heels. She leaped towards Dustmuzzle and hooked her claws onto one of the rogue Tom's shoulders. With a grunt, she heaved him off and wrestled him to the ground. Dustmuzzle struggled from beneath the black Tom and turned on him, paws flailing. Gorsifer barged between Slash and his campmates. Rearing, he moved between Slate and Greywing and began swiping at the rogues. "We chased Splinter off," he shouted, struggling to be heard above the sounds of battle. "He won't be coming back any time soon." "That's 1 gone," Greywing thought grimly. "Only 7 to go." He raised a paw as Slash swung a blow towards his cheek. He blocked it and pressed harder against Gorsifer and Slate. His hind paws felt weak as he struggled for breath. "I need air!" Claws raked his nose as his concentration slipped for a moment. How long could he keep this up? Gorsifer lashed out at Beetle while Slate fended off the orange Tom. Greywing glanced down at the tortoiseshell she-cat as the tortoiseshell she-cat dived for his hind leg. He snatched it away, but too slowly. Her teeth sank into his flesh. Pain shot like lightning through his leg. With a grunt, he collapsed onto the grass. Paws slammed into his flank. Rank breath billowed past his cheek. Slash was on top of him. "Help!" As he flailed desperately, a familiar yowl rang through the air. Reed! Through a flurry of paws, he glimpsed his campmate Silver Fur streaking from the heather. Minnow, spotted for in mothflight, hurled out after him. The air seemed to explode as they crashed into the attacking rogues. Greywing dug his hind paws into Slash's belly and heaved, but Slash was clinging hard with thorn-sharp claws. Slash snarled in his ear as he sunk his teeth into Greywing's neck and rolled him across the grass. Greywing thrashed in terror. He gulped for breath, but his chest was so tight he couldn't draw in air. The world seemed to shrink as darkness closed around him. "Breathe! I must breathe!" He struggled to stay conscious, hardly aware of Slash or the pain. Suddenly, the weight of the rogue was gone. Greywing lay as helpless as a fish hooked from the river. As he gasped for breath, his mind reeled. What if he couldn't get enough air? Around him, the yowl of battle ebbed away. Darkness clouded his vision as rain soaked his pelt. Am I dying? Then, slowly, the stone jaws clasping his chest began to loosen. He drew in shallow breaths, which deepened one by one. His panic eased as he felt the world open around him once more. The grass beneath his cheeks swam into vision. Laying limply on his side, he became aware of Slate. Greywing? She was leaning over him, her warm breath on his muzzle. Greywing! Fear edged her mew. He grunted, wanting desperately to reassure her. Paws slithered to a halt beside him. We chased them off. Windrunner sounded pleased. They won't come back in a hurry. Is Greywing okay? Mothflight's voice sounded beside him. I don't know. Slate was trembling. Greywing pulled in a shuddering breath and blinked at her. I'll be fine, he whispered hoarsely. Mothflight was sniffing his pelt. Slash has given him a nasty bite, but it'll clean up nicely. It's a good thing you pulled Slash off him when you did, Slate. Windrunner peered down at him, her eyes dark with concern. Numb, Greywing rolled onto his paws and crouched, belly to the grass. He wanted to stand, but didn't have the strength. Just rest there, Slate soothed. Thank you, Greywing wheezed, for saving me. I had to. Slate purred. I couldn't let anything happen to the father of my kits. Pregnancy announcement? Greywing stiffened. Your kits? Confused, he stared at her. Turtletail was the mother of his kits, and they weren't really his kits. Hazily, he tried to understand. I'm gonna have your kits, Slate explained softly. Shock heated Greywing's pelt. Is it so surprising? Slate purred. Greywing lifted his chin and gazed at her in wonder. My kits, he breathed. Joy flooded his heart like sunshine filling the sky. He was gonna be a father. You're already a father, dude. He purred clumsily. He purred a clumsy, wheezing purr. My love, he murmured, burying his nose in Slate's thick, warm fur. Thank you. Yay!
Hi, J-Sizzle!
Sometimes visualizing their fights make me laugh. So true. It's like when two people are shooting their guns at a mass of enemies or something. Yeah, it's like, I'm not sure what's going on. Sometimes I can imagine it, and sometimes I'm just so focused on reading what it is. I'm not sure what I'm reading.
Bomb drop, woohoo! No snack, just Wawa.
Yummy Wawa. He's a father to like 5 cats. He is, you're right. He's just dad.
Thank you for the hydrate, Wanderer Joey.
Wanderer. Chapter 12. That was a very intense first chapter for today. It'll be safe if we wait until dark, Lightning Tail muttered. Thunder glanced at his friend as they padded between the pines. He knew Lightning Tail was right, but his paws itched to return to Slash's camp. So much that he was willing to take the risk. If we wait until dark, we might miss something. What's there to miss? Thin shards of sunlight dappled Lightning Tail's pelt. We know that Slash is planning to steal our prey and drive us out of the forest. But I have to see Violet again. This boy. Thunder had hardly slept in the days following the attack on the Moorcats. All he could think of was Violet. What if she'd been hurt in the struggle? When Greywing had visited... Boy, you haven't even met her. You haven't shared a single word with her. When Greywing had visited the camp to share the news, his muzzle had been covered in scratches. He thanked Thunder for the warning. Being prepared had helped them fend the rogues off, but even so, it must have been a vicious fight.
Hi, Matthew. Thank you, Yatta, for the sub.
I don't remember well, but I hope Violet is... Yeah, she's the one arranging the coup, pretty much. And she keeps on declining Slash by insulting him, so I think that's pretty good. He avoided Lightning Tail's gaze. If you don't want to come with me, that's fine. Why should he put his friend in danger? I'm not letting you go out there alone. It's not safe, Lightning Tail sniffed. Just want I just wish you'd admit why you really wanted to go there. Thunder stopped walking. He flicked his ears self-consciously. Lightning Tail turned and stared at him. You want to see her again. His whiskers twitched. Thunder's pelt grew hot. I don't mind. Lightning Tail shrugged and carried on towards the marsh. Did you think I hadn't noticed you talking about Violet every chance you get? You're worried about her, aren't you? Yes. Thunder hurried after him. Lightning Tail quickened his pace. Then let's see how she is. Oh, Lightning Tail. Gratefully, Thunder followed the Black Tom through a narrow gap between the brambles. Light showed between the trunks ahead. They were nearing the marshland. Lightning Tail lowered his voice. Just hope we aren't spotted. Greywing said he rolled in rotting mushrooms to disguise his scent. Thunder scanned the tree's roots for old fungi. Lightning Tail wrinkled his nose. Let's just stay downhill. He slowed as they reached the edge of the pine forest. Thunder peered out from the trees. I guess we can always run if we're spotted. Most of the rogues are hopeless at running through woods. If we can get as far as the forest, we'll be safe. Shh! Lightning Tail cut him off. Thunder followed his friend's alarmed gaze. 4 rogues were filling between the marshy tussocks, heading for the woods. His heart lurched as he recognized Violet among them. Hide! Diving beneath the yew, he pressed his belly to the ground. Lightning Tail shot in beside him. They're coming this way! Thunder wriggled deeper beneath the bush as the rogue patrol headed towards them. As they pattered past, one of them spoke. Through the branches, Thunder could see a Black Tom. He looked anxious. Do you think Slash saw us leave? The rogue mewed. Don't worry, Raven. Violet walked beside him. He was too busy teaching battle moves. A young Tom followed her, his auburn pelt glossy. Where are we gonna hunt? A tortoiseshell she-cat hurried to catch up. That's the third time you've asked, Red. He's just asking because he's nervous, Juniper. Violet told her. You know how Slash feels about us hunting for ourselves. I'm not nervous. Red sounded indignant. Violet ignored him. Let's hunt near the two-leg place. What about the dogs? Red gasped. We can run faster than dogs, Violet told him. Juniper grunted. We shouldn't have to go hunting where there's food rotting in camp. Why doesn't Slash share it? Raven growled angrily. He gives the best pieces to Splinter and Beetle and leaves the rest to turn sour while we're eating scraps. Fury surged through Thunder's pelt. Cats were going hungry because of Slash, and he was letting food rot? Slash is just mean. Violet's tail flicked against a yew bush. Since Starflower escaped, he's been worse than ever. I'm glad she got away, Juniper commented. I wonder how her kits are doing, Violet murmured. Fern said she had 3. The rogues padded deeper into the forest. Thunder pricked his ears as their voices were swallowed by the pines. His heart was pounding. Rage bristled in every hair on his pelt. How dare Slash let food rot? He slid from beneath the yew. Let's go back and check the camp. Why? Lightning Tail scrambled after him. You've seen that Violet's okay. Thunder blinked at him. Didn't you hear? Slash is training his camp mates to fight. We need to learn their moves. Lightning Tail's pelt rippled. You're pushing your luck, he warned. We've almost been spotted once. What if Violet had seen us? Thunder wished Violet had seen them. He couldn't believe the sleek gray she-cat would betray him, and he longed to meet her. Thunder! Lightning Tail was staring at him. He jerked his thoughts away from Violet. If Slash is too busy to notice a hunting patrol leaving camp, he'll never see us. He ducked out from under the trees and headed into the marsh. Lightning Tail followed. Keeping low, Thunder made for the patch of grass that walled the rogue's camp. He slowed as he neared and tasted the air, relieved to feel the wind ruffling his fur. It carried the smell of rogues and whisked his scent into the pines. Weaving between the tussocks, he led the way to the hiding place they'd used last time. As he crouched low, Lightning Tail squeezed in beside him. He peered through the gaps between the stems. Slash was pacing the edge of the clearing. Splinter was facing a brown, molted she-cat in the middle. Fear shone in her eyes and blood welled on her muzzle. Slash patted closer. This time remember to block his first blow. The molted she-cat nodded stiffly, not taking her eyes from Splinter. Splinter showed his teeth. Should I go gentle on it this time, Slash? He asked sarcastically. No! Slash snapped his gaze towards the Tom. He smirked as he saw amusement spark in Splinter's eyes, then purred. Beach has to learn that if she's slow, she gets hurt. A pale tabby padded closer to the edge of the clearing. Let me take her place. Go away, Willow. Slash gave her a warning look. Your friend needs to learn. Pity jabbed at Thunder's heart as he watched Willow back reluctantly away, and Beach braced herself for Splinter's attack. The black and white Tom crouched, his eyes slitted. Beach flattened her ears. Slash stared at Beach mockingly. Is that as scary as you can look? Beach fluffed out her fur and showed her teeth. That's better. Slash flicked his tail. Splinter leaped, paws flailing. He crashed into Beach. She ducked to one side to escape a swinging blow. Splinter's claws caught her ear tip, and Thunder saw plain flash in her eyes as she rolled away. Splinter reared and slammed his paws down. He was too slow. Beach leaped up and ducked behind him. Thunder's heart quickened. He found himself willing the brown she-cat to outwit the bullying Tom. He held his breath as Splinter turned to face a flurry of blows. He backed away, wincing, but Beach kept lashing his muzzle. Suddenly, she stopped and glanced behind in surprise. Slash had pressed a paw onto her tail. What the heck? Pinning her to the spot. As she blinked at the rogue leader, Splinter leaped at her. Digging his claws into her pelt, he kicked her paws from beneath her and rolled her onto the ground. Willow started forward, her eyes wide with fear, but Slash hissed at her. Stay back! The pale tabby looked on, anguish brimming in her gaze, as Splinter battered Beach with merciless swipes. Thunder trembled with rage, longing to barge through the grass and defend the she-cat. Enough. At last Slash signaled with his tail, and Splinter backed away from Beach. She staggered to her paws, fur stuck out in clumps around her neck. Blood matted her pelt. Willow hurried forward and guided her campmate towards the edge of the clearing.
Is Beach okay?
Thunder blinked as two kids scampered out from between the reeds and hurried to meet the injured she-cat. The black tom kit reached her first.
She looks hurt.
A gray and white she-kit scrambled to a halt beside him.
You fought really well, Beach.
An orange and white she-cat hurried behind them. Her green eyes shone with worry as she saw Beach. That's not training, she hissed under her breath. That's cruelty. Dawn! Willow gave her a pleading look, as though begging her to keep quiet. Don't frighten your kits. Thunder pricked his ears as the orange and white queen replied, I'm not going to hide the truth from them. Dawn glared at Slash. Pine and Drizzle need to know what sort of group they belong to. Thunder tensed as Slash met the queen's gaze. If you don't like my group, you can leave and take your kits with you. Dawn narrowed her eyes. We might just do that. A dark brown tom slid from the shadows. Hush, Dawn, he murmured anxiously. We need the safety of the group. Dawn turned on him. You call this safe? She glanced towards Beach. The battered she-cat was washing her wounds stiffly. Slash's eyes glittered. Perhaps you want to train next, Dawn? The brown tom moved in front of the queen. She's still nursing, he growled. Slash's ears twitched. In that case, Moss, why don't you come and show us your moves? The black tom kit's eyes lit up with alarm. His sister pressed herself against Moss. Don't go, he'll hurt you. Moss touched his nose to the she-kit's head. No one's gonna hurt me, Drizzle. He padded to the clearing and faced Slash. His gaze darted towards Splinter, then to Beetle, who was crouched at the edge of the clearing. My God, I keep yawning. Which one of you am I going to train with? Thunder heard no fear in the tom's mew. Admiration warmed his pelt. Lightning Tail fidgeted beside him. I wish I could train with one of those fox hearts, he growled under his breath. Slash motioned Beetle forward with a jerk of his muzzle. Beetle got to his paws and crossed the clearing. His eyes shone with disdain as he looked at Moss. Moss returned his gaze, unflinching. Thunder tensed as he watched the two rogues face each other. Moss threw Slash a look. What move do you want me to practice? Choose whatever you like, Slash sneered. I'm sure Beetle can counter it. Moss narrowed his eyes. Shifting his paws, he squared his shoulders. Dawn watched anxiously while Pine and Drizzle huddled against her. Each washed blood from her muzzle. Be careful! Dawn's warning was cut off by a screech. It rang across the marshland like a desperate cry of an owl. Thunder jerked his head up. The screech sounded again, followed by the howl of a dog. Then Red shot from the pines as fast as a hawk. He pelted across the marshland, his fur brushed with terror. As he hurried for the camp, 3 dogs bounded after him. Their eyes glittered with excitement as they raced between the tussocks. Thunder stiffened, fear surging beneath his pelt. He's leading the dogs straight to the camp. The kits! Before Thunder could stop him, Lightning Tail plunged through the camp wall. He raced across the clearing and bundled Pine and Drizzle towards the shadowy reeds beyond. Dawn's eyes widened in shock. Dogs! Lightning Tail yelled. They're headed this way! As he spotted Red streaking through the camp. As he spoke, Red streaked into the camp. The heavy paw steps of the rogues pounded over the ground outside. A barrage of vicious barks seemed to shatter the air. Blood roaring in his ears, Thunder leaped through the gap Lightning Tail had made and raced to his friend's side. Lightning Tail had scooped up Drizzle by her scruff and was pushing her between the reed stems. Dawn was nosing Pine after his sister. Hide! She hissed. Don't come out, whatever happens. I'll defend them. Lightning Tail turned his back to the kit's makeshift hiding place and faced the clearing. Dawn squared up beside him. Who are you? I'm Lightning Tail. He pushed up. I wanted to do, I'm Lightning Tail. He pushed out his pelt. I'm Thunder. Thunder scanned the camp. We're forest cats. Moss was backing away from the clearing. Beetle and Splinter had leapt in front of Slash. Orange Tom raced from the shadows. A molted tabby followed. As the dogs crashed through the grass wall, cats burst from their nest. Terror burned in their eyes. The dogs leaped and twisted in the clearing, their tails wagging as though they couldn't believe their luck. They snapped at the cat starting between their massive paws. Thunder raced forward as a terrier thrust its sharp snout towards the striped she-cat. Rearing, he slashed its cheek. The dog turned on him, growling angrily. Fear scorched through Thunder as its foul, hot breath washed over him. He lashed out with both paws. It yelped, diving closer. Fur brushed Thunder's flank as Moss reared beside him. Fern dashed from the edge of the camp and ducked beneath the terrier's chin. Hissing, she rolled onto her back and scrambled beneath the dog's belly. With a yowl, she began churning her hind paws. Thunder smelled the stone tang of blood and clawed the dog on the ear as it turned to bite at the hissing cat beneath him. On the other side of the clearing, Slash, Splinter, and Beetle fought beside a yellow-eyed tabby, driving a russet-colored mongrel towards the camp entrance. They swiped at it, one after the other, in relentless barrage until the excited gleam in the dog's eyes turned to confusion. Frog raced past Thunder, nearly unbalancing him as he fled a black dog. Slavering, it barged past Thunder, its greedy gaze fixed on the gray tabby Tom. A burly brown Tom leaped from the reeds, raking the dog's muzzle as he soared past. The dog scrambled to a halt, yelping with rage. Frog reared and, while the brown Tom found his footing, aimed a vicious blow at the dog's snout. Beach raced to help, blood still streaking her nose from the fight with Splinter. She ducked beneath the dog and fell in beside Frog. The brown Tom joined them, and together they lashed out at the dog's snapping jaws. Thunder, look out! As Lightning Tail's cries sounded in his ears, paws shoved him aside. Teeth snapped beside his cheek. He turned. Fern had pushed him clear as the terrier had lunged for him. Fear surging through his muscles, he flung blow after blow at the dog's face. Moss was clinging like a tick to its back. Thunder flattened his ears as the camp rang with the shriek of battle. Across the camp, the mongrel yelped with pain as Slash, Beetle, and Splinter and the tabby Tom drove it away. Eyes blazing with hate, Slash swung his paw at the dog's nose. Blood sprayed his pelt as it sliced its muzzle open. Yowling in agony, the mongrel turned and fled towards the pines. Hope flared in Thunder's chest. He slashed at the terrier, his eyes lidded. Fern pressed against him. She reared and sank her claws into the dog's cheek. It tried to bite her, but as it opened its jaws, she pulled hard on its flesh and it howled with pain. Ducking low, it tried to shake moss from its back. Panic sparked in its gaze. Backing away, it stared in terror at the cats. Then it turned to leap the grass wall. As it fled across the marsh, Moss jumped off its back and raced back to camp. "We're winning!" Thunder turned to the black dog. He froze. A chill rippled along his spine. The burly Tom lay unmoving at the edge of the clearing. Blood splattered the ground around him and oozed from his body, turning the earth red. Uh-oh.
Hi, Christian.
Oh, I forgot to put our dead cat toll up.
Dawn of the Clans, 26. What's a ghost's favorite makeup to wear? I don't know.
So many have died.
Mascara!
That was a good one. Classic.
Classic pun.
I think the text should be over me, though, so you can really see it.
Yeah. Hi,
Bailey. 3K more juice. It's happening. It's happening. Frog batted desperately at the dog's muzzle. It snarled and snapped, drool bubbling at its lips. Limping on 3 paws, the Green Tom lurched clumsily with each swipe. Each stumbled beside him, her pelt scratched and matted. Pain gleaming in her eyes, she swung blow after blow at the dog. It snapped its jaws around Frog's flanks. Thunder heard bone crunch. Beach swiped at its nose. The dog let go, its eyes blazing with rage. As Frog dropped to the ground, it turned on Beach. "Frog!" Willow raced across the clearing. Grabbing his scruff, she pulled him clear of the dog's hefty paws. Each faced the dog alone. Thunder and Lightning Tail raced to help. Gray Fur crossed Thunder's path. Slash was blocking his way. "What are you doing?" Thunder stared at him. "She needs help!" He glanced at Lightning Tail. Splinter and Beetle were holding him back, pinning him to the ground with their paws. Slash snarled at Thunder. "Don't move or I'll kill you." Thunder's thoughts whirled. "Why?" Slash stared at Beach, curling his lip. "It's time she proved she's not a burden." "You can't!" Thunder tried to push past Slash, but the rogue reared and hooked his claws deep into his shoulder fur. Half blind with fury, Thunder scrambled against the earth, but Slash held him back. Beach stumbled, her gaze on Slash. Disbelief shone in her eyes as the black dog took her ribs in his huge jaws. She shrieked as it lifted her and shook her like prey. Screeching in terror, she flailed desperately, her eyes flashing with agony. Thunder heard a terrified yowl, and then Fern raced over. Spitting like a snake, she leaped onto the dog's shoulder and clawed at its eyes. It yelped and dropped Beach, shaking Fern from its back. Thunder ripped free of Slash's grip and flung himself towards the dog, but it was already fleeing, blood welling around its eyes. Howling, it ran from the camp and followed its packmates to the pines. "Beach?" Fern leaned over the she-cat as she lay limp on the ground. Frog dragged himself towards her, his hind legs trailing along the ground behind him. Is she breathing?" he whispered, staring at Beach. Thunder hurried closer and sniffed her muzzle. No breath touched his nose. Her flanks were still. "She's gone," he murmured. A low moan sounded in Fern's throat. "Well, wait, was the other one?" A burly Tom lay unmoving near the edge of the clearing, blood splattered on the ground and oozed from his body, turning the other head, Fong battered desperately at the dog's muzzle. Okay, yeah, that was just one random cat that died. "27! Give it up for number 27. We're at the same amount as Omen of the Stars.
Hi, little mans.
What do you mainly stream on? I mainly stream on Twitch. Lightning Tail hauled himself to his paws, glaring angrily at Splinter and Beetle. We could have saved her! What for? Slash snarled from the middle of the clearing. His campmates stared at him, shock sharpening their gazes. Beetle shook out his pelt. She couldn't fight her hunt. Splinter padded to Slash's side. She was a waste of prey. Fern glared at Slash, her pelt prickling along her spine. Hatred filled her gaze. You let her die! Slash snorted. Don't blame me. I didn't lead the dogs here. Fern stiffened. Red? She jerked her muzzle around, scanning the clearing. Where is he? He ran away. Splinter's mew was thick with derision. Derision? Mouse heart. Beetle snarled. Mouse brain, Slash corrected. Who would leave dogs back to his own camp? Splinter narrowed his eyes. Perhaps he did it on purpose. Beetle's eyes flashed with interest. He has been complaining a lot. Perhaps he was hoping the dogs would kill you. He blinked at Slash. It might have been a plot to destroy the group. No! Fern stepped forward. Red wouldn't hurt anyone. Willow narrowed her eyes. Then why did he lead the dogs right into the camp? Splinter's ears twitched. If I was being chased by dogs, I'd lead them away. Thunder glanced around the camp. Blood splattered the ground and speckled the grass wall. Cat stared, round-eyed with shock. Frog had collapsed, his eyes dull with pain. Blood welled above Moss's eye. Blood gouges showed on Fern's flank. Clumps stuck out of Willow's pelt. These cats were in no state to look after themselves or each other. An orange she-cat sniffed at the burly brown Tom. Yeah, that's the brown Tom. Stone's dead. She stared bleakly at his matted pelt. Slash's eyes gleamed. And it's all Red's fault. Thunder growled. Stop worrying who to blame. You've got injured cats here. 2 of your campmates are dead. Doesn't matter why it happened. You need to take care of your group. He glared at Slash. Slash's hackles lifted. How dare you tell me how to lead? What are you doing here anyway? He bared his teeth. Thunder shifted his paws uneasily as Splinter padded closer. I think he's a spy. Dun, 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 dun. Where's the new prophecies death count? Wait, where is it? It's gone! Heck? Oh, I have to go watch a video and see what it was. Hold on.
You poop, so you boop. Da-na-na-na-na.
Somebody waits for me underneath the tree.
Have a holly jolly Christmas, the best time of the year. Oh, by jolly, have a holly jolly Christmas this year.
It must have been way before everything kind of pooped itself, huh? Oh, ho, the mistletoe hung where you can see. Somebody waits for you underneath the tree. Oh my gosh, it's when I was using a 3D model. What the heck was the... Ah, there we go. New Prophecy 23+. New Prophecy... That's not how you spell it. How the heck do you spell prophecy? Prophecy. Prophecy. What? Why doesn't that look correct? Prophecy. Oh, the H. New prophecy. What was it? 23? Power of 3. Oh! I see what happened. It got all jangled wangled. New prophecy was 23 plus. Power of 3 was 13. not plus stick. Omen of the Stars, 27 plus stick. There we go. Okay. New prof. There we go. That was too many deaths for power of 3. Where you can see somebody wait for you underneath a tree. There we go. That's good.
Oh, I'm hot.
Once one of them say, I'm Thunder, and this is my clan. Hopefully by the end of the series, I think he'd be like, I'm Thunderstar. Dun dun dun. I think it's fun that all the cats at the like present time cats that have like superpowers and prophecies probably think so highly of like the originals, Thunder Clan, Wind Clan, Shadow Clan, like think so highly of them, and they're just like normal guys.
Your videos are so cute and make me happy. Aww. Thank you. I'm glad that I can make you happy, even in sad times.
I don't know if you remember in the first series, I believe Tigers and Lions. Yes, I do remember that. They would be called Lion Clan, Tiger Clan, right? I did watch it. I was trying to watch it on stream and then it wouldn't let me, and then I watched it. It's good. It's good stuff. Guys, if you haven't watched it, watch it. It gives you a rundown of Warrior Cat's first series. He actually read all the way up to Omen of the Stars. So he's in the know. He's an official Warrior Cat. Which villain? Tiger Star? Tiger Star got done dirty? Tiger Star came back, though. Tiger Star never left. Tiger Star haunts us to this day. Okay, he was a little. But it was to show how strong Scrooge was. This cat that has been haunting everybody for so long, making vicious, awful torture piles of dead bodies and making all his cats fight against each other. And then this one cat comes in and rips his throat open. Never got to win it.
Nuh-uh. What?
Oh, was it stomach? Oh, what I remember is the gurgling. I feel like that on the main villain. It was like, I remember when I was reading it, I was like shook to my core. I was like, oh. Sometimes it's so graphic for absolutely no reason. It's true.
Thank you for the follow, Silver Claw. Your name, could be a warrior cat name.
I hope you know that and you're glad about it. It feels like just killing one strong guy to introduce the bigger, badder guy just feels boring to me. I was so invested when I was reading these for the first time. I read several books in a week. Yeah, I read these so fast, and then I had to do like a provincial, which is like a big test to like judge how good the kids are doing in a province. And I made like fan fiction because you had to write like something based off of the theme, and so I wrote fan fiction based off of it.
Thank you for the sub, eat me.
Eat me, eat me. Super editions were crazy. I think I got into it when around the time the first Super Edition came out. Was it good fanfic though? I can't remember. Probably not. I think it was like self-insert. Like I was trying to make it my own, but I couldn't think of enough like warrior cat names, so I just used like other warrior cats from the series. I would love to read and grade like children's provincials stories. That would be hilarious. I would love that. I remember reading Blue Star's Prophecy when the ending absolutely shook me. I never read Blue Star's Prophecy. I think I only read Firestar's Quest, honestly. I was like, because I read Firestar's Quest, and then I didn't read any more, and then once Power of Three came out, I was so obsessed with Jay Feather. Like, I just loved him so much. I didn't feel any desire to read any of the super editions because they weren't about Jay Feather. I was like, why would I want to read this? I used to flip through the chapters and go to the next chapter and see which POV was the next POV, like Holly Leaf and Lion Blaze and stuff. And I would flip through them until I got to Jay Feathers, and then I would hold the amount between, and I would like keep my pinky into where that chapter was, and I would hold the rest of the pages in between my hands, so I like knew how close I was to getting to Jay Feathers' chapter. Classic. Jay Feather, my first crush. I remember reading Blue Star's Prophecy. Self-injuries are funny though, plus if I'm writing a story about something I enjoy, I'm putting myself in it so hard. I think I don't do self-inserts the same. It's more like OC inserts, I guess. Like, I don't care if it's me, it's boring because I don't think I'm very interesting. But if it's like a character that I made, I'd be like, yeah, nice. Nice. I too hope that he gets his own super edition. Like, one night, I don't lose anything not being in the same verses like me. I'd put my own characters in it to like hang out alongside him. Because one of my favorite verses, your strength is pretty much direct correlation to your will. If you think about it, I would live off this. That's what I think about a lot. Like if I was in an anime or something, I'd be like, I would be so good at like, you know, shoving my love, using my power of love to gain extreme strength and be like, I can do this. I can beat this guy. I used to do that when I was rock climbing. I think a lot of kids would do that too, you know, like zone in on them, the willpower to overcome. I'd be like, what would Alan Walker do? I'm gonna manifest all my strength and power and get to this next rock while I'm rock climbing, this difficult jump. And then I would do it and be like, yeah! Or when I was running as a child, I would, like, call upon card captor Sakura and, like, pretend that I used the speed card, and then I would, like, gain speed. But I have to do, like, the whole chant in my head to, like, summon the speed card first, so that I would, like, gain it, or, like, pretend that I was a horse. When the school bell rang, we used to always pretend that there was a tsunami happening from, like, the back of the play area, the upper field or whatever, and then we would, like, bolt it. We'd be like, it's coming, run!
Felt like you were going so fast!
You're not gonna understand this in the slightest, but just judging from how I know you on streams, I think you could develop an ego. I don't see you distorting. Distorting? I have an ego. I have zero ego. I'm an egoless fellow. I rode nightmare horses with my friends and went on cool adventures. Basically, a horse with nice.
It's a lot that is hard to explain.
I think it's interesting. Especially, like, not streaming and then being able to interact with a streamer. Before I started streaming, I would only watch really big VTubers, so I never chatted in smaller VTubers chats and gained, like, a community or, like, a place in the community. So I have no idea what that feeling might be to, like, watch a smaller streamer and have them interact with you. It's a power? Oh, a power. Like a strength. I see. Alright. We had a nice little break. Let's continue. Let's continue this war that is happening. Chapter 13. Beetle flexed his claws. He's trying to stir up trouble. Slash flattened his ears. I should claw your ears off for trespassing on my land. Thunder faced the rogue leader, anger hardening his belly. Overhead, clouds darkened the sky. Your campmates needed help, not another fight. They brought the danger here themselves. Slash didn't even glance at the injured cats littering the clearing. Anyway, they don't need help from a couple of cowardly cat groups. Thunder stared at him in disbelief. We helped you fight the dogs off. Lightning Tail patted to Thunder's side. Your cats are so starved they couldn't even defend themselves properly. He jerked his muzzle towards Beach. And you clearly don't care whether they live or die. Why should I? Slash's pelt rippled along his spine. They're cowards. They fight like kits. Thunder's paws trembled with fury. They fight like foxes. How could Slash despise the cats he was supposed to protect? Didn't he feel any responsibility for them at all? Fern padded into the clearing, her eyes wide. She glared at Slash, her eyes blazing with anger. You don't care about us at all. You never have. Dawn was lifting Pine and Drizzle from their hiding place among the reeds. She glanced at Fern, her expression somber. Moss bristled beside her, his gaze on Slash. Fern is right. You ordered us to steal, then kept the prey for yourself and your friends. He glanced at Splinter and Beetle. The vicious Toms glared back at him and moved closer to Slash. You've been treating us terribly for a long time. We practically starve while you let the food rot. Dawn took a step towards Fern. They're right, she said, looking nervously from the black she-cat to Slash. You say you want to train us to fight, but you abuse your own cats. Fern nodded. Then they turned back to Slash, eyes narrowed. We've put up with you for too long, she hissed. You call the group cats weak, but look who fought alongside us. Maybe we'd be better off in a group. We'd definitely be better off without you. Better off in a group? Thunder's pelt prickled with concern. Could the groups accommodate all these cats? Would they? A tabby Tom crossed the clearing and fell in beside Slash. Why don't we just leave? He hissed to Slash. These mouse hearts don't appreciate you. Slash. Let them try to make it out on their own. Slash narrowed his eyes. That's a good suggestion, Snake. I'm wasting my time here. He flicked his tail towards Splinter and Beetle. You coming with me? Why would we stay here? Splinter lifted his chin. Beetle shook out his pelt. Let these vermin die. Thunder stared at Slash. I'd never let my group troop down like this. They're your campmates. They're injured. And they're right. You've let them down. How can you be so heartless? Slash shrugged. If you're so worried about them, why don't you look after them? Thunder stiffened. Slash's words echoed the question he'd been turning over in his head. A question he couldn't quite answer. Can I care for these cats? There was barely enough prey in his forest to feed his own group. But he couldn't leave these battered cats here. They clearly needed help. Moss's eyes lit with outrage. No one needs to look after us, he snarled. We'll take better care of ourselves, better than you ever did. Fern squared her shoulders. Dawn wrapped her tail around Pine and Drizzle, who were trembling, their puffy fur spiked. We shouldn't have put up with you for so long. Thunder felt a rush of admiration for the rebelling rogues. And yet, how would they recover from this? They were half-starved to begin with, and now they were wounded. They might say they wanted to look after themselves, but could they? Whatever happened, at least they would be free from Slash. He met the rogue leader's gaze. I don't think he'll be missed. Slash glanced at Splinter. Let's get out of here. It reeks of fear. He glanced once more around his campmates, then headed for the entrance. Splinter, Beetle, and Snake followed. An orange she-cat hurried after them. Can I come too? Slash turned and looked at her through narrowed eyes. Don't you want to stay with these weaklings, Swallow? He asked mockingly. Swallow flattened her ears. I don't want to live like prey, she growled. I'm a hunter. Slash blinked at her approvingly. Then you'd better come with us. He headed through the gap in the reeds as Splinter, Beetle, Snake, and Swallow filed after him. Thunder's claws itched. He wanted to chase after the heartless cowards and claw their ears off. But there had been too much fighting already. Too many cats were hurt. He didn't want to drag them into another battle. Fern's mew took him by surprise. We should fetch Pebbleheart. He blinked at her. When I was with Tall Shadow's group, he helped heal his campmates, he went on, and he tended to Quiet Rain when she was dying. He might be able to help here. You're right. Thunder dipped his head to Fern. I don't know if he can help all these cats, but I know he'll try. I'll fetch him. Lightning Tail headed for the camp entrance. Moss stared after him. Should I come too? Lightning Tail answered without stopping. I know the forest, he called. I'll travel faster alone. Thunder watched his friend race out of the camp, impressed by his decisiveness. Even after the battle with the dogs, the Black Tom was still fired with courage and determination. I'm lucky to have such a strong support, and so is my group. He padded toward Stone and sniffed his muzzle. Scenting death, he backed away, his pelt prickling. He glanced at Beach's body and shivered. These cats would still be alive if Slash had kept them well fed and fought as their friend. Dogs were dangerous, but they were dumber than badgers. A loyal, united group could easily outthink and outfight them. Thunder. Drizzle's small mew made him turn. The young kit was staring at him.
Will Slash come back?
Thunder hesitated. The kit looked frightened. He wanted to promise her that everything was safe now, but how could he? Who knew what Slash would do next? Dawn leaned down and licked the she-kit's head. We don't know, dear, she murmured between laps, but Moss and I will protect you, whatever happens. Thunder felt responsibility weigh like a stone in his belly. He must help these cats. But how? As he wondered what to do, the reed entrance rustled. Was Lightning Tail back already? He looked up, his heart jumping as Violet hurried into camp. Ooh la la. A pigeon dangled from her mouth, and her eyes were wide with fear. She dropped her catch. We smelled blood! She stared around the camp, her ears flattening as she saw her wounded campmates. What happened? Before anyone could answer, Juniper and Raven followed her in. Each carried a mouse. They dropped their catch, their pelts bushing as they saw the ravaged camp. Raven's nose twitched. Dogs! Juniper stiffened. Have you seen Red? He was hunting with us in the two-leg place. He wanted to explore an alley. We told him we'd meet up with him later, but he never turned up. Willow narrowed her eyes. He led the dogs here. Here? Juniper's tail twitched fearfully. Is he hurt? Fern glanced at Willow anxiously. He ran away, she murmured. Juniper and Violet exchanged glances. Mouse heart, Willow hissed. Violet looked past the pale Tabby, her ears twitching as she saw Beach's body. Is she dead? She hurried to sniff the she-cat's matted fur. Stone was killed too. Moss limped towards the burly Tom's body. Juniper's eyes widened. Are the kids okay? She scanned the camp frantically until her gaze reached Pine and Drizzle, huddling beside Dawn. Dawn scooped them closer with her tail. They were safely hidden thanks to Thunder and Lightning Tail. Who? Juniper blinked at Thunder, but Thunder hardly noticed the tortoiseshell's green gaze. He was watching Violet. Bruh. The beautiful she-cat was staring at him, her warm amber eyes brimming with gratitude. You saved the kids? Are you Thunder or Lightning Tail? Thunder shifted his paws, his pelt suddenly hot. I'm Thunder, but, Lightning Tail helped. Lightning Tail was the one that jumped out of the bushes first. He was the hero in this situation with the kids. He dropped his gaze. Looking at Violet made his heart beat too fast. Fern padded forward. They helped us fight off the dogs. Thunder stared at his paws. I just wish we'd managed to save everyone. He lifted his gaze to meet Violet's, suddenly feeling shy. She was watching him with soft eyes. Thank you, she murmured. A striped yellow she-cat hobbled forward. Blood matted the fur on her shoulder. Slash has abandoned us. Honora's Tom struggled to his paws at the edge of the clearing. He called us mouse hearts. He sounded hurt. Violet lashed her tail. What would you expect from that fool? We're not mouse hearts, Ember. The striped she-cat blinked at Violet uncertainly. Perhaps we should have tried harder to fight off the dogs. Bee! Violet patted towards the she-cat and sniffed her bleeding shoulder. Look at you! Look at you all! You must have fought with the courage of eagles. Bee glanced at her anxiously. But Slash is gone. What are we going to do now? Violet lifted her chin. We're going to take care of our injuries and share this prey. She prodded the pigeon with her paw. Tonight, no one will sleep with an empty belly. Technically, they left all of the prey that they've stolen, the ones that isn't rotten yet. Like, they have a lot. Now they can actually eat out of it. As she spoke, paws sounded outside the camp. Lightning Tail charged in, Pebbleheart at his heels. Holding a thick wad of cobwebs between his jaws, he paused and surveyed the cats, his eyes glittering with apprehension. Then he hurried to Frog. The molted gray Tom was the only cat who hadn't struggled to his paws. Dropping his cobwebs beside the rogue, Pebbleheart began sniffing his pelt. Then he ran a paw over his spine and down his legs. His gaze darkened. Thunder hurried to Pebbleheart's side. Is it bad? The scent of blood filled his nose. I can clean his wounds and stop the bleeding. The gray Tom lowered his voice, but there's a jagged lump in his spine. A chill crept into Thunder's fur. For the first time since the fight, he was aware of the cold wind whipping across the marsh. Is it broken? I hope not, Pebbleheart whispered. It may just be swollen. Only time will tell. Violet joined them. How can I help? She blinked at Pebbleheart. Pebbleheart ripped a paw full of cobwebs from his wad and placed it in her paws. We must make sure every wound is clean before the bleeding is stanched. Make sure that... She didn't let him finish. I understand. She hooked the cobweb between her mouth and one paw and patted towards Fern. Where are you hurt? She asked, sniffing the other she-cat's pelt. Pebbleheart raised his voice. Everyone who is hurt must wash their wounds thoroughly. If there's a scratch you can't reach, let your campmates wash it for you. Dawn hurried towards Bee. Pine and Drizzle ran after her. Moss began to sniff Ember's pelt. There's a wound under your chin, he told the Tom. Take care of your own wounds. Ember nodded towards the blood welling above Moss's eyes. Violet turned towards Thunder. Are you hurt? No. Thunder gasped suddenly as pain throbbed through his forepaw. He lifted it, surprised to find puncture wounds in his fur. Had the terrier managed to bite him? He hardly remembered. Violet hurried towards him. Dog bites can turn nasty. She sat down, lifted his forepaw between hers, and began to gently clean his wound with long laps of her tongue. Thunder snatched his paw away, his pelt burning. Thunder stared at him in surprise. I'm sorry. Her ears twitched anxiously. I was just trying to help.
Hello! Welcome! Sylvia? Step right up, bookworms and spellcasters. Sylvia's library awaits, brimming with enchanting reads and mystical secrets. Their soothing ASMR streams are the perfect backdrop to your literary adventures. Don't miss out on this magical experience. Join the fun and discover the wonders of the library today. Do you read books? Hello! Thank you for the follow, Yumday! Hi, Romeo! Thank you so much for the raid! Sometimes!
What were you ASMRing about? What if you were a librarian of ruins? Juice! I think they has got a lot of normal books. Ruina? I don't know what that is.
Welcome in, everybody! My name is Nono Noelle. I'm the Grand Marshal of the Pop Cup Parade. We travel the world spreading hope and joy!
Today we are reading Warrior Cats. Oh, a game! I see. We're reading Warrior Cats. So if you're a librarian and you have little librarian people, little bookworms with you, this is perfect! Usually people like to sleep or do chores or play games while I read Warrior Cats.
So welcome in. I hope that your stream was lovely. If you have to head out, please feel free if you want to stick around.
My arms are open for hugs. Hugs and kisses. Can attest to sleeping during Warrior Cats. I get good naps here. Good naps, yeah.
Thank you for the follow, Sylvia.
I gotta give you a nice follow, too. Let me in.
Ah! Yeah! My policies are uppy.
Ooh. One day I'll get like an actual ASMR kit and then I'll read Warrior Cats through that. I wonder how that would be. I feel like I would have to talk quieter though. No? Can you talk normally through an ASMR speaker? They also have like the 2 ear things. I would like not need to do like the 2 ears. It would have to be like one microphone. Mono? Is that it? Or stereo? I can't remember. One of those.
Anyways, I'm gonna continue reading. Thank you again for the raid.
Where was I?
What is an ASMR kit? It's like special
ASMR things. You know how when you listen to ASMR, it like is really like it's so strong and like near your ears. It looks like 2 ears. They're like speakers that look like 2 ears. Not in the slightest. But I would need one that isn't 2 ears. Unless I like have the 2 ears and then I like talk in between the ears. But I don't know if that would like catch the speakering quite well. And if I did like a growl, what would it be like? These are the questions I don't have answers to. I think I would need to borrow somebody's ASMR speaker and then try it out. Alright, continuing. Oh right, Thunder is being a little blushy boy. Violet stared at him in surprise. I'm sorry. Her ears twitched anxiously. I was just trying to help. Thunder's tongue seemed to twist into knots. I can do it, he mumbled. Violet shrugged. If you like. She turned to Lightning Tail. Are you hurt? Lightning Tail shook his head. Not a scratch, he told her. But I've always been lucky.
What a cool boy.
Pine and Drizzle huddled close to Dawn as the Queen watched a wound behind Bee's ear. Pine was staring towards the camp entrance. Drizzle crouched so close to her mother. She was almost hidden beneath the Queen's orange and white fur. Rain was beginning to fall from the gray, heavy sky. Thunder's heart twisted as he saw fear in the kid's eyes. What if Slash did come back? And what about the dogs? Now that they knew there was a rogue camp here, they might return. What if they were part of a bigger pack? He glanced around at the wounded, undernourished cats. They were in no state to defend themselves from another attack. You can't stay here, he murmured. Violet jerked her muzzle towards him. What? This camp's not safe anymore. Thunder met her gaze solemnly. You need to find a new home. Violet blinked at him through the thickening rain. And where exactly are we supposed to go? Is it that good? The speakers? Yeah.
Thank you for the like check-in.
Chapter 14. Rain battered Greywing's face as he hurried after Lightning Tail. The Black Tom had raced into the moor camp, breathless and soaked to the skin. Greywing had tried to pursue him to shelter until he dried off, but Lightning Tail had shaken his pelt and begged to see Windrunner. She's hunting with Gorsefur, Greywing had told him. Then you must come, Lightning Tail had puffed. The rogues need our help. The rogues? Greywing had stared at him in disbelief. His thoughts still whirled as he chased Lightning Tail into the pines. The Black Tom was already racing down the slope towards the Thunder Path. Greywing's chest tightened, and he slowed, nodding reassuringly to Lightning Tail as the Tom looked back anxiously. I must pace myself. I can't collapse now. Thunder needs me. How could the rogues need help? Only a few days ago they'd attacked his patrol. Lightning Tail had babbled something about dogs and Slash and the camp being unsafe. Had Slash abandoned his campmates and left the marsh? Hope sparked beneath Greywing's pelt. If Slash was gone, perhaps life on the moor could return to normal. No extra guards, fewer hunting patrols. They could sleep soundly in their nests once more. Lightning Tail stopped beside the Thunder Path and waited. As Greywing skidded to a halt on the wet grass beside him, a monster pounded towards them. When it shot past, Lightning Tail stepped in front of him, blocking the spray from its spinning paws. Greywing felt a prickle of irritation. You don't need to protect me. He raced around the Tom and broke into a run, racing over the slick stone path. He kept running until he reached the shelter of the pines on the other side. Greywing was relieved to be out of the rain. Only a few drops penetrated the thick needle canopy. Lightning Tail caught up to him and shook out his fur. Greywing smoothed the rain from his whiskers, stiffening suddenly as a thought struck him. Is Fern okay? She's wounded, but not badly. Lightning Tail set off through the pines. Pebbleheart's there. He'll take care of her. Greywing leaped a dish as they reached it. Were many cats hurt? Most of them, Lightning Tail told him. 2 are dead. Dead? Must have been a horrific attack. Where did Slash go? Lightning Tail shrugged. I don't know. Why did he leave? Did the dogs drive him out? No, Lightning Tail told him. He abandoned his campmates after the attack. Greywing's pelt prickled with shock. Abandoned them? They were glad to see him go. At last! Satisfaction warmed Greywing's belly. Fern would be free now. Is Slash alone? Lightning Tail shook his head. Beetle, Splinter, Snake, and Swallow went with him. Greywing's heart sank. Slash wasn't as isolated as he hoped. What if he returned to terrorize his campmates once more? We need to get the others away from the marsh as soon as we can. But where could they take them? The rain was easing by the time they reached the marsh camp. The dark, soggy afternoon was sliding quickly into evening. As Lightning Tail led Greywing through the entrance, Greywing stared at the gloomy clearing. His paws prickled with shock. Holes in the camp wall showed where the dogs had crashed through. The rain-soaked earth smelled of blood. Cats huddled in the shelter of the marsh grass at the edges. They gazed warily at Greywing as he entered. He dipped his head. My name is Greywing, he told them. I've come to help. Fern patted from a drooping clump of reeds. Greywing, Her eyes were hollow with exhaustion. Did Lightning Tail tell you? Slash is gone. I know. Greywing touched his nose to the young she-cat's head, relieved to find her well. How are you? She drew away. My sister's dead. She blinked at the molded she-cat lying at the edge of the clearing. Beach was her sister? Oh, that's messed up.
Thank you for the sub, Shadow and Amber.
You think Slash is what started the aggressive rogues that Scrooge said? Oh, that'd be cool. But that's like long time. That's like clan history type shindigs.
Beam Clan checking in. How's it going on the chat? Good.
That was your sister? She's why I had to come back. Lightning Tail scanned the clearing. Where's Thunder? He's digging a grave with Juniper and Raven. Fern nodded towards a gap in the camp wall. Out there. A pretty gray she-cat crossed the clearing to meet them. Black fur edged her ears and paws, and her amber eyes were warm. Are you Greywing? Greywing dipped his head in greeting. Yes. Thank you for coming. She stopped in front of him. I'm Violet. Thunder said you might be able to find us somewhere to stay. She glanced around at the battered camp. I don't think we're safe here anymore. Greywing's ears twitched uneasily. An orange Tom was huddled beside a tortoiseshell she-cat. He recognized them from the attack on the moor. Only a few days ago, he and his campmates had fought these very cats. Violet was still staring at him expectantly. He fumbled for words. I'll do what I can, he murmured. Turning his head, he gazed through the gap in the camp wall. I must speak with Thunder first. Of course. Violet padded towards the tabby she-cat and crouched beside her. The tabby was trembling, her eyes glittering with grief as Violet leaned close and lapped her cheek softly. Greywing was headed towards the grave when he recognized a gray pelt beneath the drooping clump of marsh grass. Pebbleheart! The young Tom was tending to another cat. He turned as he heard his name. A wad of cobweb hung from his jaws. He blinked a welcome at Greywing, then turned back to the wounded Tom. He's treating injuries, Fern explained. He's been busy since he arrived, cleaning cuts and bites and gathering cobweb to stop the bleeding. They are in safe paws. Greywing gave a purr. He wasn't surprised that Pebbleheart had helped the rogues eagerly and unquestioningly. He headed for the gap in the wall and hopped out of the camp. Stay with the others, he called to Lightning Tail. The Black Tom nodded. I'll guard the entrance. He followed a trail of crushed grass and churned mud until he saw Thunder's orange pelt, bright against the darkening sky. In a gap between the tussocks, the Tom was leaning over a hole, hulling the earth with his paw. Another Tom worked beside him. As Greywing reached the grave, he saw the tortoiseshell she-cat walk up to the edge and drop to the bottom, sinking paw deep into the mud. Then she scooped a paw full of mud and dumped it on the rim. Thunder pawed it away. The Black Tom next to him scraped peat from the side of the hole. Greywing glanced sadly towards the two bodies lying nearby. Their bony frames showed through their bed-wrangled fur. Rain streamed down their whiskers that would never twitch again. Thunder looked up as Greywing reached him. Thanks for coming. He straightened, wiping his muddy paws on his belly fur. Wait, that image is so not a cat thing. I'm like, he straightened up, wiping his paws on his muddy belly fur. That's like he's sitting up on his back legs and wiping his paws like a person. Is Slash really gone? Greywing asked. For now, Thunder told him. But we need to bury these cats and get the others away. Who knows if he might come back. I remember thinking that when I read it. I'm glad you paused too. The rogue beside him sat up, or the dogs might return. Thunder nodded towards the Black Tom. This is Raven, he told Greywing. He glanced at the she-cat standing in the grave. That's Juniper. Hi. Raven dipped his head. Hello. Juniper met Greywing's gaze, then blinked at Thunder. Do you think this is deep enough? It needs to be a bit deeper if it's to keep the bodies safe from foxes. Thunder stood up. Mud caked his paws. Will you two be okay finishing here while I talk to Greywing? We'll be fine. Juniper scooped out another pawful of wet dirt. Thunder signaled to Greywing with a flick of his tail, then wove his way between the tussocks. Greywing followed until they were clear of the others. "What are we going to do with them?" Thunder whispered. "They clearly can't stay here." Greywing stared across the empty marsh. "The camp's not safe anymore." "We could take them to Tall Shadow's camp," Thunder suggested. "It's not too far." Greywing frowned. "It might be too near. Now that the dogs have their scent, they might track these cats to Tall Shadow's camp if we take them there." "The river?" Thunder wondered. "It's a long trek for injured cats." Thunder glanced towards the wrecked camp. "Frog's badly injured. I'm not even sure he can walk. I don't know how we're going to get him over the Thunder Path. We'll deal with that when it comes to it." Greywing shifted his paws. The moor would be the safest place for the rogues. The hollow had thick walls and was easy to defend. And every moor cat knew how to divert dogs away from the camp by leading them through swaths of heather and gorse, and hiding in rabbit burrows until the dogs were exhausted and confused. But how would he convince Windrunner to take the rogues in? Why would she welcome cats who had attacked her campmates and stolen their prey? Greywing frowned. He'd persuade her somehow. It would be only temporary, until the rogues recovered or found new homes. "What about the moor?" he ventured. "The hollow?" Thunder's eyes brightened. "They'd be safe there. I've seen how moorcats deal with dogs." Greywing nodded. "Let's take them there for now. Tomorrow we'll decide where they can go next." The grass rustled behind them. Greywing jerked his muzzle to see Violet standing at their tails. She blinked at him hopefully. "Can we join your group?" Greywing froze. Windrunner would never agree to that. Violet must have sensed his hesitation. "We don't all have to join the same group. Perhaps a few could join yours, and some could live in the pines, and some in the oak forest? There are cats by the river too, aren't there? Maybe some could go there." Her gaze drifted to Thunder, "And perhaps I can join your group?" "Oh!" She's forward. Greywing's ears twitched. Thunder's eyes widened as Violet blinked at him hopefully. They seemed lost in each other's eyes. But then Thunder spoke. "I'd have to speak with my campmates." His fur rippled self-consciously. "But I'd like you to join our group." A burst of happiness spread over Violet's features before she dipped her head shyly. "Thank you." "Thunder!" Juniper called beyond the tussocks. "We're finished." "I'm coming," Thunder called back. He blinked at Greywing. "Is it decided? We take them back to the moor tonight, then tomorrow we can see which groups will take the others." "Yes." Greywing nodded. It seemed the only way. But would Windrunner give these rogues shelter for the night? Why don't they go to the hollow that they had before? The one they lived in before they moved. He pushed the worry away. The most important thing now was to get the rogues away from here. "I'll fetch the others," Violet's mew cut into his thoughts. "They'll want to say goodbye to their campmates." She hesitated before she patted away, her mew turning wistful. Slash used to make us take bodies to the Karen place and leave them for the crows and rats. Yikes. Greywing shuddered. Could rogues that had once treated their dead campmates as crow food ever learn to live peacefully among the moor and forest cats? Well, they were forced to. What do you mean, dude? By the time the rogues had said goodbye to beach and stone and buried their bodies so that no fox could dig them up, the night had swallowed the marsh. The rain had eased, clouds still covered the moon. Lightning Tail paced in the darkness, as though impatient to leave. Greywing gathered the rogues and the remains of the camp. "Are you well enough to walk as far as the moor?" He glanced around the expectant faces. Willow looked towards Frog, who was still lying on the edge of the clearing. Pebbleheart was crouching beside the injured Tom. Frog will need to be carried. Who was strong enough? They should just take Frog to ShadowClan. Who was strong enough? Greywing scanned the rogues. Moss was hardly injured, and Raven looked fit. Juniper must be tired after digging, but she met his gaze eagerly. If Lightning Tail helped, they should be able to carry the wounded rogue between them. Moss, Raven, Juniper, and Lightning Tail, will you carry Frog? Of course. Moss padded towards his injured campmate at once, Juniper and Raven hurrying after him. As Lightning Tail followed, Moss tucked his nose beneath Frog's shoulder. The injured Tom grunted as Raven grasped his scruff. Careful, Pebbleheart cautioned. His eyes glittered with worry. He's injured his spine. Too much movement might make it worse. Raven tugged Frog onto Moss's shoulder. Frog shrieked with pain. Pebbleheart's fur bushed. Stop! Gently, Moss moved away, and Raven lowered Frog to the ground. Thunder blinked at Pebbleheart. What can we do? We can't leave him here. Pebbleheart was gazing into the distance, his eyes clouded with a look that Greywing knew well, but Tom was thinking. Frog, Willow crouched beside the Tom. You'll be okay. We won't leave you behind. He needs to lie flat as we move him, Pebbleheart murmured. Greywing frowned. That's not possible. Pebbleheart blinked at him, his eyes lighting up in the darkness. Yes, it is. He raced to the camp entrance. We need to find the right-sized piece of bark. I've seen plenty in the fine forest. It'll curve around his body, but be flat enough to support him. We can use it to drag him to the moor. They made a sled! Lightning Tail pricked his ears. I'll help find some. I'll come too. Moss hurried across the clearing. Where's Moss going? Pine blinked anxiously at his father as he headed out of camp. He's not going far, Dawn soothed. He'll be back soon. Pine lifted his chin. I'm going with him. He began to cross the clearing, following Moss's paw steps. Violet darted forward and grabbed the tip of the kit's tail between her teeth. You're staying here, she mewed through gritted teeth as she dragged Pine towards his mother. Dawn has had enough to worry about today without you wandering off. Pine struggled free and glared at the dark she-cat, but he didn't argue. Sticking his tail in the air, he stalked back to Dawn's side and sat down stiffly. Greywing glanced towards the pine trees, no more than shadows against the cloudy night sky. No one spoke as they waited for Pebbleheart, Moss, and Lightning Tail to return. Greywing stiffened when, at last, paw steps sounded outside the camp. He hurried to the entrance, then hopped back as Lightning Tail burst, tail first, into the clearing. He was dragging a piece of bark in his teeth, while Moss and Pebbleheart pushed the other end with their paws. Greywing sniffed it as Lightning Tail let it drop beside Frog. The scent of sap was still fresh. It clearly had not been lying on the forest floor. The bark would be strong. Pebbleheart crouched beside Frog. We need you to move onto the bark, he told the Tom. It will hurt, but not for long. I can bear it, Frog grunted. Willow paced beside the injured rogue, her worried gaze on Pebbleheart. You'll be careful, won't you? Of course. Pebbleheart buried his muzzle into Frog's scruff and bit down. He blinked at Lightning Tail and Moss, and they hurried to help. Nosing Frog's hindquarters, they heaved him onto the piece of bark, while Pebbleheart guided his head. Frog grunted, his eyes sparkling with pain, then fell limp as they laid him into the curve of his bark nest. Violet patted around him, looking worried. Will we be able to drag it? Thunder puffed out his chest. There's only one way to find out. Leaning down, he grasped one corner of the bark between his teeth and tugged. The bark slid a little way over the ground. Juniper hurried to help, taking the other corner in her teeth. Between them, the two cats began to heave Frog towards the clearing. Greywing watched them haul through the entrance. The rogues limped behind them, a straggling trail of battered cats. His pelt prickled nervously. Would they really drag Frog all the way to the moor? No, there is no way you would be able to cross the thunder path. And what will he tell Windrunner when they arrive? Frog? Willow's anxious mew sounded from the head of the group. Greywing hurried past the rogues and stopped beside her. Above, the clouds were thinning. Stars were glittering through the gaps. They made their way onto the moor. The hollow was visible in the weak starlight, no more than a shadow on the hillside. Willow leaned over the bark nest. The rogue's body was slumped in its curve. He's not moving. Willow looked expectantly at Pebbleheart. The young Tom sniffed Frog's muzzle. He's still breathing, but very weakly, he murmured. Do something to help him! Willow's tail quivered. Greywing's heart twisted as he heard horror in her mew. Pebbleheart met her gaze. I can clean wounds and stop them from bleeding, but Frog's injury is inside. There's nothing I can do. Anger flared in Willow's gaze. But you got him this far! She glanced towards the hollow. We're so near. He has to make it. Frog grunted softly. Willow crouched beside him. Frog, hang on. We're nearly there. You're gonna be okay. Greywing saw Frog's tail slide limply onto the ground. Willow hopped over the bark and tucked it neatly beside him. We're gonna take care of you, Frog. Frog made no sound. Frog? Willow leaned into the nest and lapped at his shoulder urgently. Say something. Wake up. Stay awake. You can sleep when we get to safety. Pebbleheart placed his paw on Frog's flank. Greywing's heart lurched as shock darkened the young Tom's gaze. He looked at Frog and saw stillness beneath Pebbleheart's paw. Frog wasn't breathing. Frog! Panic edged Willow's mew. I'm sorry. Pebbleheart's mew was husky. He's dead. No! Willow backed away, her eyes wide. Well, we've officially gotten more cats dead than Omen of the Stars. Nothing has beaten into the wild, though. Violet hurried to her side, steadying Willow as she began to tremble. So much death! Thunder padded forward. This will be the last. He met Greywing's gaze. Was that doubt flickering in his starlit gaze? Greywing dipped his head. There's no point dragging Frog to the hollow now, he meowed softly. We should bury him here and mark his grave so that he will not be forgotten. As he spoke, he heard paws pounding across the hillside. He turned his head and saw, in the moonlight, Windrunner and Gorsefer running towards them. He hurried to meet them. He didn't want Windrunner stumbling into the rogues without warning. There you are, Greywing! Windrunner pulled up as she neared, her pelt rippling uneasily as she saw the rogues gathered behind him. Her mew hardened. What are they doing here? Gorsefer narrowed his eyes and scanned the bedraggled cats. Greywing shifted his paws. Their camp was attacked. Slash deserted them with a few of his allies. 3 of their campmates are dead and most of them are injured. I told them that we would give them shelter for the night. He held his leader's gaze unflinchingly. Their camp is no longer safe. They need our help. Windrunner flattened her ears, her gaze flickering towards Juniper, Raven, and Ember. They don't need our help. When they attacked our patrol a few days ago, Greywing stood his ground. They had no choice. Disobeying Slash would have cost them their lives. He glanced at Fern, remembering her terror of the cruel Tom. But Slash is gone now. These cats are no different from you and me. He hoped it was true. Really? Windrunner padded past Greywing and circled Juniper and Raven. She stared at them angrily. Are we supposed to trust you now? We won't hurt you, Raven told her quickly. Windrunner curled her lip. If only you'd felt that way last time we met. Gorsefer padded to his mate's side. They don't look in a fit state to harm anyone. Windrunner glared at him. So we should take him into our camp? Just until tomorrow, Greywing pleaded. The wind was turning cold and cutting through his damp pelt. He shivered. They need shelter. Dawn padded forward. She nosed Drizzle and Pine ahead of her. Will you at least take my kits? No! Drizzle dug her paws into the grass. We want to stay with you. Pine stared desperately at his mother. Moss padded to his mate's side. It's okay, Dawn. We can keep them safe. Dawn ignored him. She kept her gaze fixed on Windrunner. They're so small. They'll freeze out here on the moor. Please give them shelter. They can't harm you. Windrunner eyed the kits, her gaze wavering with uncertainty. Greywing hurried to her side. We can't separate them from their mother. We have to take them all in. They're no threat to us now. They need our protection. What if the dogs follow their scent, or Slash comes back? Windrunner's pelt bristled. If dogs are following them, we don't want them in our camp. We can drive off dogs. Gorsefer's mew took Greywing by surprise. And Slash, if we need to. He glanced at the kits. We can't turn him away. Thunder stepped forward. Lightningtail and I will stay in your camp too, if you will let us. We can help if there's any trouble. Greywing blinked hopefully at Windrunner. Let's prove that we're better than Slash, he begged. He abandoned them. We can't. Windrunner's eyes flashed. We don't need to prove anything. Willow padded forward, her head low. I understand why you don't want to take us in, but please let me bury my brother here before we move on. He deserves to rest in peace. Windrunner followed Willow's gaze towards the scrap of wet fur curled in the bark. Did you drag him all the way here? We thought we could save him, Willow told her bleakly. Windrunner blinked, her eyes clouding, as though suddenly overwhelmed by the tragic scene confronting her. Very well. Her mew was husky. You may all shelter in our camp for the night, Windrunner told her. We will post extra guards, and in the morning we'll decide what to do. Above, a cloud drifted away from the moon. Silvery light bathed the rogues. Greywing dipped his head. Thank you, Windrunner. Relief washed over him. The rogues would be safe for the night. What would happen to them in the morning? He pushed the thought away and turned to Willow. Let's find a sheltered spot to bury Frog. I thought there was more death in this series than there is. It's weird because thinking back onto Into the Wild, I don't remember all the cats that died, but there were so many deaths, like cats falling off cliffs, cats just dying in battle. It was because we didn't know them very well, right? Like Firestar was coming in and there were just cats that we didn't really know and babies that were being born and enough to die. Sounds like Mufasa level wars. Yeah. There were a lot of cats. New prophecy. I am surprised more cats didn't die on the trip. But yeah, Power of 3 makes sense to me. There were some wars in Power of 3, weren't there? I don't really remember, but I think there was. With Wind Clan. Was Soul in Power of 3 or Omen of the Stars? Soul is in Power of 3. Yeah, so yeah, there was a war. There was a war with the eclipse. Yeah, there were only like 2 big ones, right? Like a few big wars. But most of them were like huge betrayal type situations, like Hawkfrost. No, wait, Hawkfrost was New Prophecy, right? Yeah. Yeah. Hawkfrost was New Prophecy. Omen of the Stars, I don't remember. Oh, wait, no, yeah. Omen of the Stars was, like, weird because it was, like, double death. People were dying, but they were, like, double dying. Dawn of the Clans. We have, like... Dawn of the Clans, a lot of the cats... Because we're making the clans, right? So we know all the cats, or at least we cats weren't there to begin with, except in in Windrunner's camp, the cats that had like kind of like made themselves there.
Hola, hi Eric.
Ooh. We're only 2 hours in. There's 1 hour left technically, but I'm so hungry. I'm getting a little dizzy. Hermy. You should eat. Yeah, I should eat. You're right. Right, I should eat. I'm too tired. It's not good to make yourself that hungry. Yeah. You're right. I gotta follow my own advice. Eat. We're at chapter 15, so we're like halfway done this book. Unless there's like one of those like do your own adventures at the end, or like a bonus chapter. If it's a bonus chapter, we're a little over halfway done. So ideally, 2 more streams? If we do 50-50? If we can... like powered through, we'd be able to do it in 1 more stream, and then we do the super edition, and then we get Jay Feather back. All right, tomorrow's stream. I think we were gonna do Arcana SMP because I haven't been on there in a while, but it might be a different game. I really want to play that zoo game. I think that might be a good final game to play before I leave. Or maybe a good coming back stream. Yeah, maybe actually it'll probably be a better coming back stream. I'll do the zoo voice game for the first stream back. Actually, we might not be able to do... 17 is Thursday. If I come back on the 17th, then I'd probably be too tired to do Warrior Cat Wednesday. So 2 weeks for Warrior Cat Wednesday. Unless I guess I can push it to a different day. Maybe I'll do Warrior Cat Friday on the 20th? Nono Vacation Time! Yeah! Nono Vacation Time starts, next week. I'm gonna try and do a stream tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, since I'm gonna be gone for a whole week. What's my favorite game? Outer Wilds. Yeah. But Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar was also a very good game. I like that one again. And Fields of Mystria. If someone asked me what's my favorite game, I just realized that I would never say a mobile game or like one of those kinds of games. I don't think I would ever say one of those because I was thinking like, oh, I guess I really like Heartopia, but I don't think I would consider that on like a game level, which is weird because it is a game. But when people say game, I imagine Legend of Zelda, Pokemon, like a good chunk solid game. But also, I guess I would consider League of Legends a game. Maybe it's the mobile aspect of it. Oh no! Oh my god, Maya's playing Fantasy Life. Just kidding, Maya's not playing Fantasy Life. Just kidding. She is playing Fantasy Life. Okay, let's... We can rate Maya. The fact that Maya got the username Maya is kinda crazy. I think she just started Fantasy Life. Fantasy Life is also another very, very good game. Maya. Poppin'. Hey, we reached the daily sub goal. Then resubbed. Oh, stinky behavior. Okay, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll figure out what games to play soon. Bye. Go eat some food like me. Go drink some water like I should probably drink some water. Night, Van. Night, all my YouTuber followers. Thank you for your subs today. I've decided that my new end of the year goal is to get membership on YouTube. Which should be... I don't know, actually. If I have a good YouTube short, I feel like I'd be able to get it quick. Like, if you get play Geometry Dash. You are so right, Eric. I should play Geometry Dash. I was really bad at that game. Or Planet Unicorn. Robot Unicorn Attack. I love that game too. I could play that for like hours. I would get dizzy though. Anyways, okay. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, you guys are gone. Okay, bye.